Welcome to Sum It Up, a Lee Summit R7 podcast. In this episode, we're going to be talking with cast and crew from the SpongeBob musical coming up at the end of this month at Lee Summit West High School.
A lot of the themes that are found are very deep for like what someone would say a children's show is. I was never an avid watcher of the show. Whenever I first watched the musical, it was really, really good.
I'm Sean Harrell, and this is Sum It Up, an LSR7 podcast. I teach digital media technology at Summit Tech Academy here in Lee Summit, and I happen to be at the beautiful studios that we have at Summit Tech. And we just got done doing a recording session with some performers from Lee Summit West High School. So I'd like for them to introduce themselves.
Thank you so much for having us, Mr. Harrell. I'm Catherine Ward. I played Perch Perkins.
Hi, I'm Cassie Knight. I play Pro Krabs.
Hello, my name is Sergio Guerra, and I play Mr. Krabs.
Hi, I'm Sam Matthews, and I play Patrick Starr.
Hello, I'm Grace Westbrook, and I play Sandy Cheeks.
And I'm Aaron Harrell, and I play Squidward Q Tentacles.
Okay, so go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I just figured you said cast and crew, so I feel like it would have been important to mention that Kat's the set designer.
Right.
Yeah,
Like you probably should.
Oh, you guys want me to say that
That's
too?
a big role, yeah.
Kat,
Okay.
let me start with you. What can you tell us about the set design for SpongeBob?
Well, I wanted it to look very cattywampus, but also not take away from the backdrops that we had. And the Nickelodeon version and the Broadway version had very little set to it. So I tried to incorporate that while also adding lots of levels. I feel like in some of the past shows that we've done, there haven't been as many levels, like Grease, for example. So to highlight each individual character, depending on where they wanted to be, there are levels there. I put barrels and other things that you might find on the ocean floor to highlight the problems that we're currently having as societies around the world with ocean waste going into the ocean. So I have barrels. One is going to be labeled oil. Lots of random things. I think we have a shoe somewhere on set, a couple fishing poles, some crates, some buoys, pretty much anything you might find on the ocean floor.
Let's start at this end. Tell us a little bit about your character. Tell us some trait about your character. And then at the end, let's just have somebody like wrap up a little gist of what this show is about. But first, let's get into the characters.
All right, I suppose I'll start. Squidward is a bit different in the musical because he's like a show boy. He's a musical kind of guy, so he's actually working to create his own musical for the entire show and would do anything to get that on a stage. Right, very meta. And he has very traumatic memories from his childhood of being called a loser. So maybe that'll get played into some kind of song? I don't know.
Yeah, Sandy Cheeks is basically a very intelligent squirrel who also happens to do karate and is just very smart and may end up coming up with a plan.
We'll find out more about the plan maybe at the end.
Yeah.
Patrick Starr is pretty much the same as in the show. He just has like those moments of, most of the time, he is really, really not the cream of the crop, if that makes any sense, but like he eventually ends up being worshipped by a bunch of sardines, which is pretty funny and a good time.
Can you give us your favorite Patrick line in a Patrick voice?
Probably
Awesome.
not. Yeah,
That's a great line.
I mean, that is pretty much that's like half of his lines. The inner workings of my mind are an enigma.
Yeah, that's profound.
Yeah.
Wow, how profound.
Sometimes life smells. I don't know. That's not my best. That's
Well, nothing's better than a line out of context.
Yeah,
for us.
right.
Yeah.
Like most of the lines in this.
What about Sergio?
Alrighty. I play Mr. Krabs, and Mr. Krabs is very similar to in the show. He's like a conniving manager of the Krusty Krab, and all he wants is money. He's pretty greedy about it, and he thinks he's better than other people because of it. And while he does try to comfort SpongeBob, he ends up just telling SpongeBob that he's just a simple sponge. And then SpongeBob gets that through his head. So in his own way of trying to comfort SpongeBob, he actually starts a whole character arc within SpongeBob. But yeah, he's just like this kind of gritty little guy who like goes around. He's not necessarily evil or anything. He's just selfish. So he's not trying to hurt people, but he's just kind of wacky.
Perfect. Cassidy?
Well, kind of like majority of the characters, Pearl is very true to the show. She's her sassy and spunky self, her whale self. She loves rock and roll. She uses it to cope with the fact that her and her father are not as close as they should be. Poor Mr. Krabs and Pearl. But rock and roll, she loves it, and she's super excited to go to the concert later in the show.
So Perch Perkins is the newscaster who is always there to provide the bad news with a smile, commonly expressing that there's no hope in the world anymore, there's no control anywhere, and we should all just accept that we're all going to die. And my character is always there to help us with that information.
In a couple of sentences, who can give a bullet point of what this show's about?
Can we all do it at the same time?
Yeah.
Do like a one word, like one word at a time.
One word.
Whatever we end up with.
Historically, that doesn't work out too great, but we can try it.
SpongeBob.
Finds
Himself?
In.
Bikini Bottom.
That's 2 words?
SpongeBob finds out.
We'll
Well,
start
I
there.
guess-
We can start there.
I was
I
hoping.
meant like
Don't
everyone
I?
says their own like summary at the same
Right,
time,
right.
like collectively.
Would that be funny, Dad, or would that be annoying?
Yeah, that would be annoying. That would be both of those things. That would be both funny and annoying.
fun, annoying.
Right.
Well,
I guess I could say a little summary.
Yeah, go
It
for
might
it.
not be like great. Basically, these earthquakes start happening in Bikini Bottom, and there's this huge rumble. And it happens a couple times before Sandy does some research, and she finds out that, oh no, there is an eruption that's going to occur from a volcano in Bikini Bottom. So basically, everybody is like, oh my gosh, we have no control over this. And then they have to find out how to save the day and stop the volcano from erupting.
Yeah, to add to that, SpongeBob goes on a journey to find himself and to stop this volcano from erupting, and he has these friends, Sandy and Patrick, who are there to help him. He has his employer, Mr. Krabs, and his daughter Pearl, and then Squidward is always there to be the just depressed, morbid individual who all he
Who
wants
also
is
likes musicals.
who also likes musicals,
Musical
and all he
typical
wants
of
is to be loved. And then you have Plankton, who's there, and he's got this evil scheme, and he wants SpongeBob to fail so that they can all go have chum, and in Chumville, he wants Bikini Bottom, the volcano, to erupt. So it's the villains are, the volcano, of course, and I guess Plankton in a way. But I feel like everyone's character is a very round character, and everyone is not good or bad.
I would like to. There's just a lot about the musical that I find very interesting, especially given that like a lot of the themes that are found are very deep for like what someone would say a children's show is. I was never an avid watcher of the show. Whenever I first watched the musical, it was really, really good, and I wasn't sold on it whenever I first heard it, whenever it was first announced as our musical. But especially Sandy, her arc, part of her character, a lot of it is about like skepticism, and so a lot of Bikini Bottom turns against Sandy, even though Sandy is trying to stop the volcano from erupting. They don't trust her because she's a land mammal. So it's kind of like it's supposed to mirror discrimination from what happens in the real world, like especially like different disenfranchised groups. It's really deep themes to have for something that is solely based on a children's show. I find that really fascinating. Even if you never watch the show, you can still find yourself enjoying it, especially because there's lots of music written by like pop stars and like singers that people are familiar with, like David Bowie, Cyndi Lauper, the Plain White T's, Panic at the Disco. Like there's a lot of different artists.
And we just recorded one written by They Might Be Giants. as
Yeah,
well.
and if I'm not mistaken, I think this is David Bowie's, like, this is one of the last things, like, he wrote before he passed or
Yeah,
something
no control.
like that. It's crazy, and, like, I can echo the sentiment Sergio has.
John Legend, T.I.
Yeah. There's a lot of good artists.
Sara Bareilles.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she wrote the Poor Pirates song.
Yeah.
Yes, she did.
Actually, the No Control, which is the song that David Bowie wrote, was written before the musical was a concept. It was one of the songs of the few that was written before the musical was created. So it was a demo that David Bowie had that was unreleased, and then they changed the lyrics to create the meaning to fit into the song.
That makes a lot of sense.
So it
Yeah.
was,
I didn't know that. That's so interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, I think as someone who grew up watching SpongeBob, I think the musical really highlights the aspects of the show in a shorter period of time. Themes like friendship and teamwork and all kinds of things like that. It's just a really fun and energetic show that is very entertaining and fun to watch.
To highlight what Sergio said, as well as Grace, I think it does a great job at connecting the themes that are maybe a little bit darker, like racism and greed and hunger for wealth and just general villainous things that in our society we have to deal with. And they take them and they show how friendship and positivity and loving someone for who they are, no matter what. I think specifically Old Man Jenkins, who's played by Ethan Smith, he originally doesn't like Sandy. And I feel like that represents a lot. He represents a lot of the groups of people who maybe have an issue with people who don't look like them or don't have the same beliefs as them. But by the end of the musical, Old Man Jenkins actually embraces Sandy and says, thank you for saving us, thank you. And I feel like that shows that people can change and people can learn to love each other for who they are.
Come see SpongeBob.
Okay, well, I
Yeah.
can speak to
Oh,
the
the
things
dates.
that I've seen over at least Summit West before. This is larger than life. It is Technicolor in its explosion of music and lights, and the pit orchestra is going to be on fire, and it's going to be a great show, even if you don't know anything about SpongeBob SquarePants. And when can we see this?
You can see this February 25th to the 27th and March 4th to the 5th.
Thanks so much for being here today.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having
Enjoy.
us.
Thank you.
Yeah, be well. You've been listening to LSR7 Sum It Up. Find more episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube.